So with Gaijin postponing the update and instead giving us a second dev server, I figured we go ahead and take the time to talk about the upcoming Leopard 2 PSO for the top tier German lineup. But welcome back to yet another talking head, but this time not really of the dev server. This is going to be more of an opinionated video based off, well, of course, the dev server information, which, by the way, you should always take with a huge grain of salt, but my own personal experiences with the Leopard 285 as it currently stands right now in War Thunder. And as always, if by any chance you disagree with my opinions, my viewpoints, maybe I'm outright wrong, believe it or not, there's a lot of moments where I get things very wrong and you guys correct me in the comment sections, etc. And I absolutely love that because that means I get to correct the mistakes. So again, if you want to throw your opinions, if you want to talk to me, correct me, use that comment section. I will do my best to, well, respond to you guys as I sees it. But before I go ahead and get started with the rest of this talking head, I was going to insert this in the main update. Unfortunately, Gaijin bamboozled me and they're not dropping the update this week, at least to my knowledge. It's Wednesday. I highly doubt they are. So I'm going to go ahead and insert this right here. Let's run that. Hey, are you looking for free golden eagles? Then look no further. Yep. That's right, there's a free way to get golden eagles and it is legit. Use this app right here to help spade your vehicle, unlock parts in FPE, or even save up to your desired premium tank. And the app itself is incredibly easy to use. If you are on Android, all you have to do is just open the app, complete specific tasks, fill out surveys, play the games that it tells you to play, and fulfill very specialized quotas, and you get paid in golden eagles. And to add, there's also a bonus. If by any chance you do want to get this app to get yourself some free golden eagles, simply use my referral code right here and you can get some exclusive access to instant golden eagles, and it also helps me too. So if you're not wanting to spend any sort of money in the game itself and you still want to get some golden eagles, then look no further than GE for War Thunder. And the cool thing about all of this is that it does actually work. I do have a payout myself and I'll be redeeming that very shortly. Just follow the link down below in the description, make sure you have an Android phone, and you are good to go. Start earning golden eagles. And really, what's not to love? Also, thank you for sponsoring this video. So now that we have all of that out of the way, let's get into the details of the Leopard 2 PSO. Now keep in mind, dev server stuff subject to change, and I'm only going to just kind of skim through everything because I plan on making an official video during the release day of this in the initial first few hours of the game, so keep an eye out for that when it does drop. Now, what is the Leopard 2 PSO? Well, switching over to the game itself, you'll see battle rating 11.7. It's a top tier tank, right? Take everything you know and love about the Leopard 2A5. Everything, give it a little bit more armor on the sides. It's composite, which should show right here, composite screens. This will mitigate against some autocannon fire. I think it can do very well against the BMP-2Ms. Let me go ahead and pull that out. Yeah, the BMP-2M is a very dangerous vehicle. As you can see, it can do moderately well against it. Even in the side of the turret, which is a huge weak spot, the lower plate right here, or the lower side, not so much, but you're not really going to worry about this too much, I would think. So it does benefit the tank quite a bit. You get a Dozer and you get some reinforcement in the upper front plate. Unfortunately, this upper front area is still as exposed as you would find with the Leopard 2A5. Granted, the regular one, excuse me. Granted, there are slats. It does help out the vehicle, but it does not offer the same level of protection as you would find with the 122B, etc. And of course, you get a top-mounted 50 cal. That's actually a pleasant surprise. I'm really going to enjoy the hell out of that one right there. You still get DM53-120 on the L44 gun, and we'll get more into this shell a little bit later in the video. You also get the DM11. It's not a proxy round, it's a time fuse round. I don't personally use this, and you probably won't see me ever use this in any situation, unfortunately. I'll stick with heat, and I'll stick with Sabo. Aside from that, this is essentially a Leopard 2A5 through and through, just with Dozer and a little bit more armor, which, let's be honest here, it's not really going to mitigate against MBT rounds in the slightest. Now let's talk about the Leopard 2A5 as it currently stands in the main game itself, because again, functionally, this vehicle and that one are pretty much the exact same thing. Of course, you see the background gameplay footage of it, and that's going to be a good point of reference of what I mean. Now, when it comes to overall performance, the 2A5, at least to me, is still a viable vehicle. It can still work. It handles itself incredibly well in the top tier environment, and in a hold down position, this thing is still absolutely dangerous. In fact, I would go as far as to say that the Leopard 2A5 is superior to the 2A6. Now, that may seem a little confusing, right? L44 versus the L55 gun. The L55 really only offers higher muzzle velocity, which allows for better penetration. You'd be surprised how once you break over 500 millimeters of flat pen, translated to 30 and 60 at distance, the rest is just kind of fair game for everyone for the most part. In fact, let me backtrack a little bit. About 550, anything above that, everything acts pretty much the same. Now, there's this odd quirk for the Leopard 2A6. I don't know if it's just me. I'm sure some of you guys have seen this as well, and it does include a little bit of Russian bias. I have to say that, okay, because I believe it honestly exists. DM53 doesn't feel good. Compared to M829A1, A2, KEW, 3BM60, hell, even the OFO 120F1 fired from the Baguette boy, of course, the Leclerc, the shell itself feels, at least to me, as if it's an over-glorified APCR. It likes to penetrate, it doesn't like to really spall or do too much damage. Now, of course, against other NATO tanks such as the Abrams, etc., it doesn't really have that much of an issue. But if you engage Russian tanks, for some reason, I have had so many penetrating shots that just go right through the vehicle and do absolutely nothing. Maybe it kills one crew member, maybe it sets it on fire, maybe it goes through the entire ammo carousel and just breaks the transmission through the engine. It makes no sense to me sometimes. And this is where the 2A5 comes in with that advantage. The L44 fired DM53, that made sense, I guess. It feels better. It may have a little bit less pen because of slightly less muzzle velocity. It still acts pretty much the exact same way as you would find with the one fired from the L55 gun on the 2A6, meaning that it does like to spall a little bit better from what I've noticed. Granted, it doesn't feel that good. It feels way better than the 2A6s. I'm trying to put an emphasis on that. So when you bring a vehicle like the Leopard 2 PSO into the game, that is the exact same thing as the 2A5, you should be able to have the same experience as you would find with the existing Leopard 2A5. With the added benefits of course, the 50 cal, the extra composite armor, and the Dozer. Now let's talk a little bit about the Dozer itself. Volumetric is a real thing at top tier. Trust me, you will see it way more often than not. And to those who are experienced up here, you should know that volumetric likes to save the Russians and the Abrams, the American Abrams, I would say almost every single time you engage the upper front plate. And just trust me, if a Sabo from, say, fired from the 2A5, DM53 is shot at against the Abrams and it hits a little piece of slat armor or something, you'll kind of see exactly what I mean. But when it comes to the Dozer itself, I like to think it acts like spaced armor. It does very well for the most part against heat rounds, but let's be real here. Unless you're running stock, you're not going to be using too many heat rounds or even tandem missiles, etc., as those are incredibly rare to find in the top tier environment outside of the BMP-2M, SPAA, such as the ADATs, etc. But for some reason, I've had many instances of this. The Dozer loves to absorb rounds. It engages the volumetric of whatever shell you fire at it, and then the moment it hits the base armor, it just disappears. I wish I had footage for this. It would make my point a hell of a lot easier to point out, but just take my word for it. I've had it happen so many times, so much so that unless I'm rocking 3BM60 or DM53, I don't like to go for the lower plate on vehicles that have said Dozers. Now let's talk about the environment at top tier for when it comes to the German teams. Now I'm going to put up this little image right here, which shows the win rate currently for the Germans. Now, please take this with a grain of salt. I think these numbers are kind of compiled from Thunderskill. They're not official, but it's the closest thing we can get. And to me, it feels very accurate. I like to compare my games and how I've been doing, how my teams have been doing every once in a while, and then I'll use this to kind of scrutinize that and kind of determine whether or not it's a bit accurate. And let me tell you right now, it is very accurate. Now, I know there's this whole idea of Germany suffers. I like to think it's true as well. But here's what I always say. I think Germany suffers from bad players, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not taking a shot at anybody, okay? I have my moments where I play like a potato. Trust me, way more often than not, I would think, right? And that's just because Germany, at least in the high tier environment, has this aura of invincibility, right? Where people are saying, oh, the Leopard is one of the best tanks in the world. The Abrams is the best tank, blah, 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 right? And we know how the T-80s, T-90s, T-72s are performing right now in the real world over the last 30 years. They haven't been doing too well, unfortunately, but in the game itself, they perform way better than I think they absolutely should. I'm sure I'm going to be getting a lot of scrutiny with that comment down in the comment section, so try to be civil if you can. I'll be civil too, I promise. But when it comes to the Leopards themselves, players like to think, I'm in my Leopard, I'm in the best vehicle ever, right? And then when you take a vehicle like the Leopard 2 PSO, and just give it a little bit more armor, 50 cal, Dozer, etc., it's going to enhance that aura of invincibility where players are just going to hold W and just get their butts kicked. They're going to kind of sit there being like, what the heck is going on? They're going to leave after the first or second death, and then they're going to rinse and repeat that, bringing down the win rate average for the Germans. Plus, it's more of the flavor of the month kind of thing. USA has done very well at some points. Russia has done very poorly in others. I don't really know what constitutes what makes them better or not, to be honest. I think there's just a large player base of experienced players who move from tech tree to tech tree, manipulating the scores very well. It has been done before with one of the Sabres in the past by a couple of creators. It was actually pretty funny to see that thing go up in BR, even though it's no better than any other Sabre in, say, the American tech tree. I forget the information for that, but I'm sure if you look it up, you'll find it. And so here's the part where I'm going to be brutally honest. I don't think the PSO is going to change much. It's no different than that of the existing 2A5. Yeah, it's got better armor. Yeah, it's got a 50 cal. Sure, it's got the Dozer. But in truth, I don't think it's going to be any better. I think it's going to be the exact same thing as the existing 2A5, less than that of the 2A6, and in my honest opinion, inferior still to that of the 122B PLSS. I think the Swedish have some of the best, if not the best, Leopards in the game. That upper front plate is incredibly dangerous to deal with. Hell, even the Chrysanthema has a hard time with it. But here's one thing I didn't really think about until just now. How come Gaijin hasn't given us, say, the Leopard 2A6EX? I know it's an export version, but I believe it has the same plate as found on the 122s. I mean, make it a module like the OBR kit for the T72s, or OBR, it's one of those two, for the Leopard 2A6, and just enhance its survivability without introducing any new vehicles into the game. Now, don't get me wrong, I know many of you guys want to have more and more Leopards. I get it. I love seeing these vehicles too, but having a whole lineup of it is just, you know, 2A4, 2A5, 2A6, 2A6EX. It's just, sometimes it can be too many. One too many. So instead, I like to see a kit for it, which does a couple of things. It makes the grind easier, it makes your life easier, and it makes the game just that much better for the Germans, because now you're giving them a vehicle that can survive a lot more. But then again, how much more do we really need in the Leopards themselves? Because let's be real here, the Leopard 2A7, at least to my knowledge, isn't any better than you would find with the 2A6 in terms of firepower, at least with Gaijin logic. Mobility will be the same, optics will probably be the same, maybe Gen 2 gunner sights, which I don't think happened until way later with the 2A7s. I'm not well versed in this kind of stuff, so bear with me here. So case in point, I don't think the PSO is going to help. I can't say that in a concrete way until the main update drops. And when it does, I promise you, I'll give you my fullest take. Does that make sense? Is that English? My fullest take? I'll give you my full take. That's it. Yeah. Anyways, guys, that's all I got for you. Let me know exactly what you think about all of this in the comment section below. Thank you, Pickin, for sponsoring today's video. You guys are absolutely brilliant, and it's always a pleasure to work with you guys, and it is legitimate, so feel free to check them out. But that's all I got for you. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. If you want to support me, you know exactly what to do. My Patreon is also open, behind the scene access, as well as my 3% discount should you buy anything in the War Thunder store. I get paid. What's not to love? Anyways, I'll see you not only in the next video or even the streams, but most certainly in War Thunder itself. Whew, this was a lot of talking. I don't know how some of you guys do it, to be honest. You know who I'm talking about. See you next time.